me share the screen so that not this one. The other one. Okay, so let's start.
Tocado algo y me he autoocultado sin pretenderlo.
Can you see my presentation? Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So let's start. So welcome and good morning to everyone. Please note that the webinar is being recorded. I will start with a fast presentation of the organization team. So I'm Anna Barra. I'm a researcher at the Technological Center of Telecommunication of Catalonia, located close to Barcelona in Spain. I'm part of the Geomatics Research Unit, and I am the coordinator of the project. Then we have Marta Béjar-Pizarro. She is the senior researcher at the Geological and Mining Institute of Spain, and she leads the work package on user needs assessment and engagement within this project. So probably you have received several emails from her, and she is one of the main contacts within the project with the users, final users.
¿Sabes cómo hacer para volverme a ver yo aquí? O sea, para verme aquí.
¿Podemos mutar los micrófonos, por favor? Luego tenemos a María Cuevas González. María Cuevas González is also a researcher at CTTC in my same group of research, and she works mainly by processing and analyzing space-borne remote sensing data and applying this data with a main focus on terrain deformation detection and monitoring, but also forest biomass estimation. We have Monica Martinez, which is a senior technician with more than 15 years of professional experience. She's also working at the Geological and Mining Institute of Spain together with Marta. And she supports a broad range of multidisciplinary activities related to geological hazards caused by ground movements, with a focus on rockfall and landslides, and also by applying remote sensing techniques for characterization and analyze this phenomena. Maria and Monica are here to support us during this day, this morning, for mostly technical aspects that I'm going to introduce now. Okay, so few points for the organization of the day. We really would like to have an active participation. So here is just to show you how you can, after each presentation, 5 minutes are dedicated to question and answer. And so you can both raise your hand and activate your microphone and speak. Monica will give you the floor to speak, but also you can click on this chat and write directly in the meeting chat. Maria will be reading your questions there. Moreover, we are going to use some quick interactive polls during the event. I ask you to participate because your inputs are very valuable for us. So I would like to show a little bit to have an overview of people who submit the registration form, because it was very surprising. I'm very glad because we have received more than 200 inscriptions, and also here we see that half of them were from Latin American countries, and the other half from European Union European countries. So this is was surprising. I don't know if finally they are going to attend, because it's not morning there, it's night. So maybe for timing problems, they will not attend, or maybe later. But we see that we have a strong interest from Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela, and then, of course, from in several countries in Europe. The main one are the ones involved in the project, like Italy, Portugal, Spain, and Greece. Then we have half of the inscription were from Geological Surveys institution, but we have also local regional civil protection, national civil protection, and research or academic institution. So this was the preliminary inscriptions, and probably. But then we have received other requests also after closing the inscription time. And so just also to make a test with the poll, I would like to ask you again, please, Maria, if you can launch the first poll and to see how does it work, to see if you are ready to participate to this poll, to see if the percentages are more or less the same. Maria?
Yes.
Can you launch the
okay, you want,
first
all
poll?
right. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
The first, okay, this one.
The screen. So good. So you will see that these two questions will be in the meeting chat. And so there you can also see the statistics. Okay, now I cannot visualize them. This I didn't think on this, but maybe you can, Maria, if you can summarize.
Yes.
We can see here the response. Well, I hope the next polls will be more fluid. Okay, let me go ahead with the presentation. So I don't know the answer about the types of hazard that you primarily address. Maybe we will go back to the answer later on. Then okay, we asked in the form also if you were familiar with satellite interferometry, European Ground Motion Service, and Copernicus Emergency Management Service. Here you see the percentages. 1/3 are to 1/3 to half of you have heard about it but have never used it, or have never heard of it. Okay, so this is a high percentage of not very familiar. Then we have one more or less for the three topics. We have I used it occasionally, and 10 to 20% of you are expert users of this technique or services. Now, an overview of the agenda. Okay, we are in the welcome. I'm going to make a project introduction. Then there is a first session dedicated to the European framework for disaster risk management, where we will learn more about the European Ground Motion Service, the Copernicus Emergency Management Service, and DG ECHO. And then session 1 will be dedicated to show examples of the use of satellite interferometry in disaster risk management. Then at the end, the last session is dedicated to the RASTOOL-DoS. We will see example of outputs, and here we want also we will talk about your feedback and so on. Okay. So I will start with the project introduction, which is a project that has been co-founded by the European Union Directorate General for European and Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations, DG ECHO. I will make a project overview, then contextualize the 3 main topics of the project to see then the objectives and the main outputs and the strategy. So RASTOOL-DoS, it's the natural continuation of previous projects. Actually, we are working on generating methodologies and tools in order to transfer satellite interferometry to non-expert users, okay? So to generate operational products since 2016, when with safety. And then, just to know that it's a long history of DG ECHO projects that before RASTOOL-DoS. So RASTOOL-DoS, here you see a project overview. EGMS RASTOOL-DoS, European Ground Motion Risk Assessment Tools, downstream service. So DoS is downstream service. It's also 2 in Spanish because it's the continuation of RASTOOL. Here's some information. It is a 2 years long project that just started the 1st of March 2025. The consortium, we are 7 partners from 4 countries. It's CTTC, it's my institute, research institute, we are coordinating the project. Then we have so we are in Spain. Then we have the University of Florence, which is also a civil protection center in Italy. And then we have the Institute of Geography and Spatial Planning of the University of Lisbon in Portugal, the Geological and Mining Institute of Spain, the Hellenic Survey of Geology and Mineral Exploitation. Then we have the local authorities of the Regione Valle d'Aosta in Italy, and the Italian Institute of Environmental Protection and Research. So looking at the response of the submission form, I decided to make a very, very fast, simplified introduction of satellite interferometry. Okay, so we have a satellite which transmits a radar signal. The radar signal is then rebounded by the surface, and depending on the surface characteristics, we can have a good well, and then the signal is read back by the satellite. So depending on the characteristics of the surface, we can have a good information or a bad information. When the backscattered signal is low, for
Luca,
example,
perché io per esempio che dei caverini manco lo posso mettere per esempio, perché un
microphone.
determinato che non c'entra niente con questo.
Microphone off, please. So in case we have vegetation, for example, it's we probably we don't have a good registered information, so we cannot have measurements. But if we have good, strong backscatter radiation, for example, if we have buildings or if we don't have vegetation, we can have a measurement. Something that is important and which is the main one of the main difference with the optical remote sensing data is that we can measure both day and night, and and also with cloud coverage. So if we have the satellite, okay, and the satellite acquire information over the same area in 2 different times, we exploit the phase difference in order to derive the ground displacement that happened between the first time and the second acquisition time. If we use several acquisition, okay, in time, so multiple radar images, we can derive this kind of map. So with measurement points, with information of the displacement in time, like the mean annual velocity, but also the evolution in time of the movement. Here we see how we cannot, here, for example, we don't have measurement points in vegetated areas, but we have high density of measurement point in other areas. So Sentinel-1 satellite allows, since 2014, allows to have regular worldwide acquisition with the open data policy, so they are totally free, and so it allows the detection, measurement, and monitoring of ground displacement with millimetric precision over wide area, and it brings a good spatial and temporal resolution. So based on satellite interferometry technique and by exploiting satellite Sentinel-1 data, since 2022, we have the European Ground Motion Service of the European Environmental Agency, which is a service of the Copernicus program, which provide reliable displacement maps with millimetric precision. We have billions of measurement points giving information on natural and anthropogenic ground motion phenomena. And this information is freely accessible by everyone. So if we have seen before which type of information we have here, we will see better in the next presentations of Lorenzo Solari. But you see that we can have measurement points, measurements of displacement up to single structures and buildings. So this is a very valuable information and that must be interpreted and squeezed out. The problem here is that to analyze and interpret, making the analysis and interpretation of this huge amount of information is difficult and time consuming. And also we need a high level of expertise to do that. So this information is underexploited, is not used in disaster risk management activities. On the other hand, we have the Copernicus Emergency Management Service that provides mapping service to support all the actors involved in the management of disasters using satellite imagery and other geospatial data. So the Emergency Management Service is the main bridge between the most advanced Earth observation techniques and its use by actors involved in the management of disasters. So by civil protection authorities and all the actors in their operational activities. So in this context, RASTOOL-DoS wants to facilitate the uptake of European ground motion service and similar displacement maps by civil protection authorities in disaster risk management by developing a prototype of on-demand mapping service related with ground motion information for the Copernicus Emergency Management Service. This service should transform EGMS data and other displacement maps based on satellite interferometry into actionable and clear maps, giving information on localization, characterization, and potential impact on structure and infrastructure of ground motion phenomena. So how will we do that? We will demonstrate the service at both pan-European scale and local scale, two different scales. At the pan-European scale, we will generate maps derived by the whole EGMS dataset, and we have the collaboration and support with the European Environment Agency. And at the local scale service demonstration, what we want is to generate local maps based on real risk scenarios and specific needs of 4 pilot areas located in Italy, Spain, Portugal, and Greece. For this, we have the collaboration and support of the Joint Research Center on Demand Mapping. And another key element is the engagement of the local authorities. So we will meet, we will make meetings, simulation, and questionnaires. So this was the introduction. Thank you. And if you have any question, if not, we can, let's see if we have any question. Monica and Maria, maybe.
There's nothing in the chat. Yeah.
No, nobody
Thank
has raised her hand.
That we are just at the beginning, it's normal. I hope you will be warm, and also it's just the introduction. So let me give the floor now to the moderator of the next session.
There is one thing on the chat.
Okay.
At least it appears to me, but I am not able to.
I will reply to that, Uri.
Okay, good.
Yeah, can do that.
Thank you very much. Well, now let me present, if Lorenzo is replying, I will just present Oriol, the moderator of next session. He leads the remote sensing group of Geomatics Research Unit here at CTTC, where he develops cutting-edge applications using active sensors like SAR and laser scanner, and his research mainly focus on detecting and monitoring ground deformation through advanced InSAR and DINSAR techniques and its application to geohazard management with a focus on landslide and subsidence. So please, Oriol, I give you the floor for the next section, which is EU framework for disaster risk management.
Yes, well, good morning. As Anna said, I'm going to chair the European Union Framework for Disaster Risk Management session. And if I am not wrong, and I have not lost the instructions, we should start with a poll with 3 questions that are related to this session. And the first one, before Maria launches the poll, I will say very fast the 3 questions. The first one is, what words come to your mind when you think about the European Ground Motion Service? The second question is, what do you know about the Copernicus Emergency Management Service, the CEMS? And the third one is, what comes to mind when you hear DG ECHO, or Director General of ECHO? So, Maria, the poll is yours.
Okay, good morning all. I will launch the first question, which is, what words come to your mind when you think about the European Ground Motion Service? You should see the poll, pop up in your Teams window. So just write your answer and click submit. Okay. If it doesn't appear, just check the chat panel. I think we can close the poll right now, right? And go for the second question. In this case, what do you know about the Copernicus Emergency Management Service? And here you have 5 options. Okay, thank you for your input. I think we can close the poll now. And finally, the last question. What comes to your mind when you hear DG ECHO? Okay. Okay, I think we are not getting any more responses now, so I will close the poll. And this was just the last question. Thank you all.
Okay, so looking at the results, I think the session will be useful. That's a good news. So let's start with the first presenter, that is Lorenzo Solari. He will present how can EGMS help manage natural hazards. Lorenzo is working at the European Environmental Agency as an expert for the Copernicus Land Monitoring Service. And he has a geologist background, and he is responsible nowadays of the implementation of the European Ground Motion Service. So if you have questions about this after the presentation, this is a good opportunity. So Lorenzo, if you want, you can start.
Can you see it full screen or with the notes?
Yes, full screen, Lorenzo.
Okay, great. Then that's fine. Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Uri, for the presentation. As said, I will start my presentation with essentially a question. So, how EGMS can help with the management of natural hazards. And I will reply to that with this very colorful picture that showcase you how some classic natural hazards can be replied by EGMS. These images are from the latest data release of EGMS, so 2019-2023, and the colors, the color bar is to make it quickly. Let's say what it is green is stable, what it is
Eccomi.
red or blue
Buongiorno.
is moving. Can you mute?
Ma Dio sa.
Thanks.
Cioè ogni giorno c'è una novità.
Please, can you mute the micros?
Yeah, thanks. So the red means essentially that something is moving either down or in a better satellite InSAR terms away from the sensor, whereas blue means that is moving upward or in InSAR jargon toward the satellite. And to the upper left you have the effect of an earthquake in 2020 in Larissa, and to the upper right you have the effect, essentially you have the onset of the eruption of the Grindavik volcanic sequence in Iceland, and to the bottom you have two examples of landslide, one from the fjords of Norway and the other in the French Alps. The current ground motion map of Europe is considered is made of 15 billion points, and it's a continent-wide map. And as I was explaining in the chat, for some, let's say, reasons, we only cover, as it is right now, the Copernicus participating countries. That's why Switzerland, some of the Balkans, and Turkey are not included in the map. And this, I'm, let's say, planning. I would like to change that in 2028. Why we are doing the EGMS? Because we have several reasons, and the most real-life situation we are facing is that we have an increase of natural phenomena that are hitting the European communities and the worldwide community. And this is an example of a map that is part of the latest EUCRA report, so the European Climate Risk Assessment report that the EA provide to European citizens. And here you have many of the main drivers that are, let's say, increasing or decreasing depending on their impact, their, let's say, force over time. And some of these drivers are directly connected with the onset of some kind of ground motion. But also it's a true fact that EGMS is probably the best example of CLMS product with that came to reality because of a direct request of a well-defined user community that you represent here today. And it's a successful example of a bottom-up process that started from mainly the geological community in Europe, and then went to the European Commission, and then went back, I would say, to my desk for its final implementation. So, in very brief, Anna already gave you a bit hints about what it is InSAR in general, and EGMS it's essentially derived from a gigantic amount of Sentinel-1 images. We are speaking of petabytes of data being ingested every year to make an update. And what we provide is a map of ground motion subdivided into 3 data layers that I will explain later. And here you have an example of EGMS in the city center of Rome. And when you click on a point, you will see a value of ground motion velocity where that will define the legend that you can see in the image. And on top of that, the powerful capability of EGMS is that it will provide also the time series of displacement in the last 5 years, which means that when you click on a point, you will see all the acquisition of the Sentinel-1 satellite, and each acquisition is connected with a value of displacement at that specific time. Regarding the portfolio, I don't have much time to explain it, let's say, in a very detailed way, but let's say this is how it generally works. So we have as input, we have Sentinel-1, and the first product we generate, it's called BASIC. BASIC is what we call the classic interferometric product. It is line of sight information, so we measure essentially somehow the distance between the satellite and the ground point, and we let's say convert that distance into ground motion over time. And this product is generated over something like 30,000 tiles over Europe, and each of these tiles, it is referred to a local reference point, which means that for every tile the motion is relative, is let's say useful only to measure the motion in that specific tile. What we do is then to let's say anchor this local information to the GNSS, to a GNSS derived velocity model of Europe. So GNSS is the Global Navigation Satellite System information that are helpful to give us the information regarding long wavelength motion, so tectonic motion, glacial isostatic adjustment, and so on. Like this, we anchor this information to this model, and we obtain not only the relative and local motion because of the level 2A, but also the EU-wide information. This means that the measurements are not anymore relative, are absolute. And on top of this, what we generate is a third product that is called ortho, for which essentially we resample the calibrated product that is delivered in ascending and descending orbit to a common grid of 100 meters, and there we compute, because of some let's say geometrical relationships, we compute the vertical and east-west component of motion. It can be, let's say, quite complex to explain in short words, but here you have, if you go on egms.land.copernicus.eu, you will find all the information and some product user manual to explain this more properly. Let's jump to some more examples, this time from urban areas, to showcase you how we can scale this product locally. So here there are 4 examples in Europe of single infrastructure being connected with some kind of ground motion. We have the airport, the old airport of Stockholm, the new port in A Coruña, north of Spain. We have the Oslo train station in Norway, and then the probably most classic example of subsidence in urban areas, that is Amsterdam, the Dutch capital. And here you have some highways with some kind of ground motion. And this is, let's say, the very local scale. And if we go, let's say, to the medium scale, then we start to see big pattern of deformation. For example, in the case of natural resources, and here we have an example of Lorca. It's probably the most extended subsidence area in Europe because of groundwater exploitation. But also we have 2 examples, one from Germany and one from Katowice in Poland, related to the coal mining. The first one in Germany, it's about the open pit mining, whereas the one in Poland is related to the underground coal mining that generates these, let's say, red areas that are connected essentially with the operations in the underground. And on top of that, we have entire cities of 100,000 inhabitants. And finally, Groningen in the Netherlands, it's probably the most famous area in subsidence because of the methane and the natural gas extraction. I would like to finish the presentation showcasing how we also, let's say, try to convince users to use the data by publishing some use cases that are both coming from the public entities or the industry. This one, it's about, for example, how EGMS helps addressing sinking soils in Great Britain. It was done in collaboration with the British Geological Survey, whereas another one in the, let's say, the market, in the private market, was done with Detectia, which is a small medium enterprise in Spain, and they use the EGMS for their, let's say, clients to showcase to them how it can be used to monitor, for example, tunneling, so the effect of tunneling in a urban area. Finally, some good news on the evolution of the EGMS and its delivery model. First thing first, the new data, so the 2020-2024 data will be available on the EGMS Explorer by November of this year. We are right now producing the data. And on top of that, there will be an API, a classic REST API that now will allow you to download the data on a machine-to-machine interface. On top of that, the Explorer will see new background image options. We will have OpenStreetMap plus Urban Atlas. That for me it's the best land cover, land use data set to have for EGMS because it's tuned on our target that are mainly the urban areas. Also for the one that are most, let's say, affected by the GNSS signal, we will have a simple toggle button that will on the fly remove and add that GNSS signal in the map, so that you will not see anymore when you open the EGMS Explorer the Scandinavia being blue because of the glacial isostatic adjustment. And finally, for the users, some Jupyter notebooks, for example, to generate the ortho product as you like. And we will convert all the documentation to Quarto Markdown. That is essentially a way to make a static documentation as a PDF, a wiki-like page. So you will essentially access the documentation as it was a Wikipedia page with hyperlinks between sections and so on. It's very useful also if I wanted to share with you a specific chapter, I will be able to generate the hyperlink to that specific chapter. Say that, I end the presentation, and if you want to have more understanding of EGMS, feel free to contact me. This is my email. I will also stay here mostly until the end of the workshop, so I may be able to reply to some questions in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenzo. Are there any questions? There is an applause.
Which is good.
No hand raises. No hand raises.
No questions. So if
nothing in the chat either. Well, yeah, there's one now. Is it actual to derive the EGMS mapping is more accurate than those derived from dome flights?
Okay, I will try to reply. The thing, I don't know what you intend as drone flights. Let's say that let's say via drone, we can either retrieve an optical imagery or a LiDAR imagery, which are different things than what we do with EGMS. EGMS is a measure of the motion of the ground. It is not a measure of the height of objects. For example, it is not something like a DSM or a DEM. So let's say that we can be complementary with drone surveys, but we do not substitute, I would say, each other.
So thank you. People saying thank you, Lorenzo. So if you want, if no more questions, I think we can move to next presentation on the session. I'm going to share the here. Do you see the introduction? It's a wait. Do you see my screen now or not?
Yes, we
Yes,
see your
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So the presentation is going
we
to.
don't.
Don't worry,
was-
it's okay. We are going. The next presenters will be Pietro Ceccato and Cristina Rosales Sánchez. Pietro is nowadays working at the European Commission Joint Research Center at ISPRA, if I am not wrong. And he is working on the Copernicus Emergency Management Service on rapid mapping section. About Cristina, she's working as a GIS and remote sensing consultant at Copernicus Emergency at CEMS. And her main expertise is risk and recovery mapping. So in the section of risk and recovery mapping. So if you want, I don't know who is going to start, if Pietro or Cristina, but floor is yours.
Thanks, Oriol, and thanks for the introduction. I'm going to share my screen and let me know when you see it in the full presentation.
It's okay, Pietro.
It's okay, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's see, here we are. So yes.
Sorry.
Yes, so Cristina and I will present what it's all about, the Copernicus on-demand mapping. And so basically the Copernicus Emergency Management Service is one of the 6 services of the Copernicus activities. So we have land monitoring, the marine monitoring, atmosphere, security, and climate change. And emergency management, so it's one of the 6 that's aiming to use the satellite images and in situ measurements to provide added values. And the added values for us, it's all the management of crisis. So the Copernicus Emergency Management Service is composed of 3 pillars. And we all are based here at the Joint Research Center on the border of the Lago Maggiore. And the 3 pillars are, the first one is the on-demand mapping. And it's composed by the rapid mapping, where we have to provide information on the natural disaster in a very rapid mode. Within, as soon as we have the satellite images, within 2 to 7 hours, we provide the information on the natural disaster. Then we have the risk and recovery mapping. That's we have a little bit more time to provide the images. But I'm going to focus more specifically on the on-demand mapping in my presentation. But we have also the 2 other pillars, which are the early warning and monitoring. So there it's more forecasting in terms of precipitation and floods, forecasting and monitoring the fires, and forecasting and monitoring the drought on the European level, but also on the global level. So, and the third pillar is the exposure maps. So our colleagues are on mapping the population and the build-up area, which is very useful for us to estimate the impact on the infrastructure and the impact on the population. So we have the global human settlement layer produced in-house at the GRC. So now I'm going to concentrate more into the on-demand mapping. to inform you that we support all actors involved in the management of natural and man-made disaster. So it's managed by the Joint Research Center and is fully operational service. So it's 24/7, 365 days per year. Who can activate us? It's mainly the authorized users, and that's the civil protection of all the 27 member states. And the request goes to DG ECHO, the Emergency Response Coordination Center, ERCC, which is based in Brussels. So they received a request to monitor any type of event, so floods, fires, earthquake, storms, and they send us the request, and we have about an hour to answer and to launch all the process to monitor the aspect. So what we do is to look at pre-disaster, the risk and vulnerability and the preparedness, the immediate response, so that's the rapid mapping, and the post-disaster, the recovery assessment, and that's what we call the risk and recovery mapping activity, where Cristina works, and she will talk a little bit more about how we can use the RASTOOL outputs in that the risk and recovery mapping. So the difference between rapid mapping and risk and recovery. So we are in rapid mapping operational 24/7. And this is important because I can guarantee you by experience that the natural disaster occur mostly on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I have an echo.
Micros, please.
Thank you. And so we have to answer the request in about an hour, and then we activate the collection of satellite images. So we have an agreement with the European Space Agency that we can ask to task satellites to take images of the area of interest. And we have access to the Copernicus Sentinel missions, but also to private companies. And the workflow that we produce information for the floods, the fires, earthquake, ground movement, and storms, it's highly standardized. So we have a set of products. We provide maps for the civil protection. We provide also GIS layers to be integrated into any type of software, GIS software. And we provide also information on how many people have been impacted and on the infrastructure there. We mostly use the satellite images, and sometimes we use also the aerial component. On the other hand, the risk and recovery mapping, it's they have more time to assess before or after the disaster. And they use also Earth observation data plus aerial component. And the way we work is that we have a consortium of partners. So in rapid mapping, we have about 9 companies based in Europe that have submitted a proposal, and the last one through a framework contract was 2 years ago. So those 9 companies won. Thank you. And so through a framework contract, we have an agreement with those 9 companies that works 24/7. And this framework contract lasts another 4 years. So in order to be part of the Copernicus, that you have to wait if you want to enter and to provide some information, another 4 years there. Risk and recovery, it's different. It's a multiple framework contract with reopening of competition. So there, each time there is a request, it's open to competitions. And so for the moment, there are more or less 3 companies competing to provide the information requested on the the natural disaster of interest. So those are the two differences between rapid mapping and risk and recovery. And yeah, we use Sentinel satellite images and all the Copernicus contributing missions. For example, in addition to Sentinel-1, we access Cosmos SkyMet, RadarSat, and now sometimes ISAI radar images. We do compute also a ground movement. It's a new product that we have integrated into rapid mapping that when the Sentinel-1 data are available, because our main concern is the speed to provide the information to the users. So we need to provide the information within maximum 10 hours when we receive the satellite images. So when we task the satellite, if we are lucky, there is an orbit passing usually in the morning, so we can have an image within 1 or 2 hours. And then once we receive the image, then we have 2 hours to produce the first estimation, 7 hours to delineate the impact. So for example, producing flood depth maps, and then maximum 10 hours to assess the impact on population and infrastructure. So it's very quick. And so we have to be efficient then. And finally, we use also airborne sensors, so airplane, drones. And we have a consortium of pilots spread in all Europe that we can activate on demand. So we start using the ground motions that we produce ourselves with our partners, the service provider, in rapid mapping, but it's a new tool. And that will be interest of us to discuss further what is the added value of RASTOOL-DoS project in the rapid mapping. But now I would like to ask Cristina to tell you a little bit about what the ground motion can be helpful for the risk and recovery projects. So Cristina.
Thank you, Pietro. Thank you all the organizers. As Pietro said, we in the service we can cover the full disaster management cycle. So to support our users, we've been using ground deformation analysis to inform about the changes in the Earth's surface. Because that provides insights on changes due to these either natural or anthropogenic processes. It helps to predict and to monitor other potential hazards. We can anticipate and track hazards or events that are happening. So we've been using them mainly for preparedness, but also for response. We have some cases. Then the European Ground Motion Service for us, it's been very relevant to understand the situation, the European situation, to use it as a baseline for further requests for hazard analysis, or to identify areas that have a significant deformation and activity. I wanted to show you some examples. Pietro, if you can go to the next slide, please. Some examples on how we've been using this kind of analysis in our service. So this is one of the type of events where we've been using ground deformation analysis. In this case was an event that happened in La Gomera in Spain, in Canary Islands, where there was a rockfall event. And one of the products that was requested by the users was to understand the ground deformation associated to that event. For that analysis, we use differential interferometry and multitemporal analysis using the Sentinel-1 data sets. And the results were that there were not like wide displacements detected in the area, but very localized ground movements. What helped us to understand that this is a very good example for detecting as an early warning tool to detect these potential disasters. In this case, we generated some vertical and east-west displacement maps, and it was to support the hazard assessment in the area and for future monitoring strategies of the regional government. Another example, Pietro, next one, please. As Lorenzo already mentioned, for mining activities, so anthropogenic activities, how it helped us to understand what has been the ground deformation due to these activities. In this case, it was a mining area that was in Ukraine, and we used time series analysis from 2016 to 2019, based also on Sentinel-1, where we found very significant subsidence in the particular area in the core of the mining zone, and it helped the users to understand how to monitor and how to inform the local authorities on how to handle this land use plan for future developments. Another case, Pietro, please, next one. There were 2 activations for Vietnam in the Mekong Delta. One was more widespread to understand how the Delta area was having different ground subsidence movements in the whole area. And another activation was about a more specific urban area. By the way, in the slides that I think there will be shared later on, you have all the links to the activations, and then if you have further if you want to know more about them, you can go there and get all the reports and all the analysis done. In this case, we be using persistent scatter interferometry for time series of several years, and then the results found very localized variability even within the neighborhoods, and also highlighted how these tools can be very useful to inform risk mitigation strategies for infrastructure planning. And I think it's the next one is the last example that I wanted to show. Thank you, Pietro. In this case, for volcanic activities, here we have different examples of the different phases of the disaster cycle management. First one in Terceira Island in the Azores, Portugal, where they've been using the European Ground Motion Service as a tool to understand the situation there, but they wanted to know, they wanted to get an update. So we used the analysis from the EGMS as a baseline, and we supported the user update until the current times using Sentinel-1 data. Fortunately, there was no further activities, volcanic activities. Another example is what happened in La Palma, the volcanic activity in La Palma, where we been supporting the national government and the different organizations involved in the crisis management, where we've been providing interferometric information to support also with other sensors that were not Sentinel-1, because that was already available, and they were using them to understand how the surface was deformating and to obtain more information. So we were supporting them with different also sensors. And then there was a follow-up, so the post-eruption, where we continued to provide this kind of support and mainly using TerraSAR and path sensors till the activities there were concluded. So this is a kind of a batch of examples of the things that we've been doing by now in the service as supporting users with these kind of technologies. So Pietro, next one, and this is my last slide. So just to summarize that these techniques have been useful for our users as an early detection of hazards, how the time series analysis could help us to understand long-term trends. And this is an information that is that provides information that is very valuable because it's actions that goes to the civil protection authorities for further development. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is all from our side. So if someone has any question, we are here.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting. Are there any questions? If not, I have.
No hands.
There's no questions in the chat yet.
Okay, so I have questions for Cristina. Just two very brief. The first one is, do you receive any feedback from the end users, the civil protections that are using these products about what you deliver, or you just deliver and then?
Yes, we do. We usually, I mean, as Pietro's already commented, we have like kind of two ways of working with our users. So when there is an emergency, we have to provide very fast and very quick. While when we do risk analysis or we do recovery, we do have the time to be in contact with our users. And then usually at the beginning of the activation, we have several meetings to understand which kind of data sets they can provide from their side, so that maybe we can use their digital elevation models for calibrating, or land use data, or any other kind of ancillary data that could be useful for the production of the analysis. And then later on, at the end of the activation, we usually have also another meeting where we clarify in case there are any kind of doubts about the results, or if they have any special feedback. Also for us, it's very interesting because we need to understand how we are doing and how to better help them. This is our command, so yes. Thank you.
And there is a question on the text now, I have seen.
Yeah, there is a question now. Alejandra Almunia asks, how could you ask to come to a workshop training in CP risk analysis and show an example work of yours on a particular proposed local area?
Yeah, basically, I think they are asking about if I understand well, the question is they're asking if there are trainings, and if there are training with, I would say, a simulation of activation in a given area, just to show how it works. I hope I understood well the question, Alejandra.
Pietro, do you want to answer?
I can answer briefly, and you can complement as well. So on the on-demand mapping, what we do, we have a series of workshops in-house and also shared online. We have had a workshop on fires, on floods, urban floods, on artificial intelligence as well. And so those workshops are available through our website. And so we have the recording, the presentations, and everything. So I'm going to try to share the link to our website So you can have access to those feedback of the workshop, recordings, and everything. But for risk and recovery, sometimes you do some activities, Cristina.
Yes, I mean, we have every year we have a user workshop that everybody's invited. I mean, it's mainly for the users that have been requesting our activities, or that could also activate us, because as Pietro said, we have authorized users that are the national focal points for each of the countries, but they can activate us on behalf of other users that are like associated users, that we call them. So any local authority or organization could ask their national focal point to activate on their behalf. We have a form to do this request, but I mean, in our website you can find the list of the national focal points, and then you can contact them to have further details. Also, you can contact us. We are also always available for that. Regarding like specific workshops or activities, we are always available to cooperate in trainings, or so we can always build like trainings if it's requested, mainly in English or Italian, Spanish. We can provide.
Okay.
Thank you for the question.
So thank you very much. I will write to you too with more questions, because we are a little bit out of time. This is the fault of the people that puts me as a chairman, because it always happens. But let's go to the third presenter. That is Auriane Denis Loupot. I think I hope to say it well. She's going to present us the DG Echo. That, looking at the poll of the start, it will be very helpful, because I think 30 people more or less were not well oriented about what it is exactly. She is currently working as an analyst in the analytical team of the European Commission's Emergency Response Coordination Center, the ERC-CC. Providing situational awareness to the Union civil protection mechanism and supporting the development of early warning systems. So, Auriane, Oriol, no? I think if you want, you can start. We have a coffee break, so take your time. It's not a big problem. Okay, time.
Thank you very much, Oriol, and very good pronunciation. Let me just share my screen. You should now see it, I think. So yes, I'm going to be presenting you what we do in the Emergency Response Coordination Center, notably on the analysis, and how we use some of the products that were just presented by the colleagues from Copernicus Emergency Management Services in order to provide analysis during and before emergencies, so that we support the operations part from the civil protection side. As you mentioned, yes, a lot of people on the call are not really aware of what DG Echo is and what we do. So I'll start with a very brief overview of our scope of work before zooming into more what I'm part of and what I'm working on, which is the analytical services of the Emergency Response Coordination Center. So just to start with, these slides gives you an overview of what DG Echo does. So maybe to start with the beginning, DG Echo is the Directorate General within the European Commission for civil protection and humanitarian aid operations. And so this is our mandate. We cover both the humanitarian aid part and the civil protection side. And here you have a summary of well, what we do and our scope. Maybe very briefly on the humanitarian side. DG ECO is mostly a major donor in this area. We contribute funds to humanitarian programs that are in countries outside of the European Union. The scope of this is both the disasters, but also complex emergencies, war, conflicts, all type of crises, this is a major part of the activity of the house. And then on the other side, we have also the civil protection activities under what we call the Union Civil Protection Mechanism. Maybe some of you have seen this acronym, the UCPM, which here DG ECO is a coordinator mostly of the contributions of European Union member states and also participating states to the UCPM in response to emergencies. So the idea is that DG ECO will act as coordinating help and assistance provided by member states to either another EU member states or also outside of the EU, because the scope of our work is global, basically. In terms of the emergencies we cover also as part of the civil protection, it's mostly disasters that are induced by natural hazards, but also more anthropological crisis. For instance, when chemical hazards, explosions, these would be emergencies that we also can respond to. And maybe just to note here that beyond the operation part and the response to emergencies, the civil protection side and the UCPM is also supporting member states, EU member states, during the prevention and preparedness phase of disasters through knowledge exchange and other activities, trainings and others. And this part I will not cover during this presentation, but it's important to mention because it's a big part of the work also through the knowledge network that of the UCPM. So this was really the overall view of the activities we cover. But for this presentation, I wanted to take a closer look at the Union Civil Protection Mechanism and especially the operation and the emergency part, and of course the Emergency Response Coordination Center. Just to recall, so as mentioned, the Union Civil Protection Mechanism is the overall mechanism that any member states in the world can activate in response to a disaster. And then the UCPM will coordinate assistance that is given and offered by EU member states, but also 10 other participating states to this mechanism, among which, for instance, we have Turkey or Ukraine and other countries, Albania. You have the flags there. So 10 other participating states. But how does it work exactly? Here you have an image that explains a bit how an activation works. And what is important to note is that when a disaster happens, so inside or outside of the European Union, it's the affected country that needs to send a request for assistance through the Emergency Response Coordination Center. The Union, the ERCC, the UCPM will not by itself go and provide support to a country. There will need to be a request to start the process for bringing assistance. And then how so once we have received the request, so the member states and the participating states of the mechanism can offer assistance. And here we are talking about people. It can be search and rescue teams. We're also talking about other capacities, can be planes, firefighting planes, for instance, can be water pumps in case of floods. So we have a very wide range of capacities that can be offered to support a response to a disaster. And then once member states have offered these capacities, the ERCC comes in and coordinates the deployment and the delivery of assistance. So we will be, for instance, pooling resources together and coordinating the transport to the affected areas. If a disaster is major enough and there is a lot of help assistance to coordinate, there is also a possibility that a team will be deployed on the ground to support the coordination and the analysis on the ground. And once this assistance is delivered, usually for few days, weeks, sometimes, then the mission is closed and the experts return and the emergency is ending. So this gives you an overview of how it works. Just to give you an idea a bit of the statistics since the creation of the UCPM in 2001, the mechanism has been activated for 770 emergencies. And here I just give you a map to show you the activations only in 2024, so last year, where we had 59 activation, and you can see all how we operate worldwide and also how the diversity of the emergencies we can respond to. So here you have floods, wildfire, epidemics, tropical cyclone, conflict, explosion, and landslide and earthquake as well, which are more of interest, I guess, for here. Now, so where I work, the Emergency Response Coordination Center, you understand, is really the heart of the operation of the UCPM. This center works 24/7, so all weekend and weekends too, night and day to provide analysis and coordinates this response. And as part of this Emergency Response Coordination Center, where I work is the analytical team, and our work here is to do analysis for the operation before a disaster happens. So we're constantly monitoring what could come, and also during emergencies, assessing how big and how bad an event can be. And a big part of this work is, of course, bridging the scientific community with the operation community. So working with scientists and with technical people to translate this language into more operational use and analysis. How do we do that? We use different services. The first one being the early warning and monitoring services. These were presented just before by the colleague from the Joint Research Center. We have the Copernicus Emergency Management Service for early warning and monitoring, which covers in Europe and globally floods, drought, wildfire, heat waves also. And in addition to these services, we also have the GDAX, which is the Global Disaster Alert and Coordination System that provide complementary information and alerts for volcanic activity, earthquake, tropical cyclone, in addition to, of course, floods, wildfires, and droughts, the information that are also compiled into this platform. And it provides information that is very useful for the civil protection community, because here all these tools help you to assess possible impacts on people and assets. And this is what we're very interested in. In addition to this, so semi-automatic monitoring and forecasting tools, we also have what we call the scientific partnerships, and which provide us 24/7 expert judgment on natural hazards, radiological and nuclear hazards, and also chemical hazards. And there it's basically groups of researchers and academia, and that can provide us with their expert judgments when there is before and during an emergency, when there is a disaster coming up. This for natural hazard, this also covers geophysical hazard, of course, such as earthquakes, tsunamis. We also cover, and then volcanic eruptions, floods, wildfires, severe weather. These are all covered by the scientific partnerships. And finally, the third tool we use are the satellite products for response, recovery, and prevention. These were just presented. So these are the Copernicus rapid mapping service, the risk and recovery service, and we also use two other services which are more in conflict areas or for maritime safety. So this is the general overview of all the capacities we use to connect, so the science with the operation, and the products that come out of it are, oops, sorry, I went a bit too fast. Just this slide to summarize how then we work from what we collect, the services I just presented. We use then the different sources of information, the early warning system, the scientific partnerships, the satellite imagery, and also, of course, media, national authorities information, our field network, which is global and worldwide. And with all of this information, we produce different type of outputs. One is public, and you can all see them, is the what we call the daily maps, the DG ECHO daily maps, which we publish on a daily basis to inform about an ongoing disaster or upcoming emergencies, and the operations, also past disasters. We also provide information on that, and this is of course supported with our colleague from the Joint Research Center, and we also have another type of product which is more about summarizing the ongoing situation on a specific hazard, and we call that an analytical brief. But this is distribution of these products is limited, mostly internal and to the participating states and member states. And so all of this is then used, of course, to inform the operations, and when there is experts deployments, and of course, when we are on the ground with the partners. Yeah, this again, just to show you a little bit where our products and the products we use are also used. Here you have, for instance, on the right side of the screen, this was at the United Nations in Libya when there was the major flooding and dam break in Derna in 2023. And I wanted to conclude maybe on just some example of use that we've had, maybe because I was just talking about Libya and the Derna dam break. Here you have an overview of the situation on the ground. We had these images popping out from on social media, and we needed to assess very quickly how what were the damage, the extent of the damage, and could there be a request for assistance. And clearly from social media we could see that there were massive distractions from the dam break, and then thanks to the Copernicus on-demand mapping, we were able to have a view of the buildings that were damaged, destroyed, and an assessment of the situation very quickly. In a shape of the map, as you can see on the right side, but also you have all the tables and the analysis that provide you much more detailed information that are very useful for us when then we have operations and people on the ground. This is notably used, for instance, when to find the access route on the ground when there are all the bridges were destroyed. Thanks to these maps, we could see what routes could be used on the ground for the assistance to be delivered. That is an example of the use we make. And I think I will conclude on this example, and thank you for your attention, and I remain available if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are hands clapped also, Auriane. So I think now everybody has a more clear picture. I think we have a question I have seen from Guadalupe. She's asking, in the event of a disaster, do the European Civil Protection Mechanism and the EMS need to be activated separately, or does the activation of ECP automatically trigger the other?
That's a very good question. So normally they can be activated separately. So but everything is coordinated through the Emergency Response Coordination Center. You don't need to activate the whole UCPM to activate Copernicus Emergency Management on-demand mapping. It's possible to activate only the on-demand mapping, and it's also possible to activate only the UCPM, so the coordinations of the assistance. But in any case, everything and the contact point would be through the Emergency Response Coordination Center. So you have one contact point that can inform you about this different activations. I hope this answers the question.
Okay. More questions?
No hands, please.
No hands. So thank you very much. I think with this we finish the session. Now we have the coffee break, and then we will start with the next session. That is, let me share before going. I think yes, it's the next session, that is satellite interferometry, that is more related with the RASTOOL project in disaster risk management, and we will show some examples or use cases, and it will be chaired by Guadalupe Group. So thank you. Anna, how much time?
Okay, Anna. So yeah, let's start. It's been 10 minutes, so I hope everyone could take a coffee or go to the toilet or whatever. I got my coffee with me. So we are not going with the session number 2. The topic is satellite interferometry in disaster risk management, and we are going to see some examples. And well, after each presentation, we will have 5 minutes for questions and answers. And these are the 3 very engaging presentations given by top experts that we are going to have today. And I will present one by one when the time comes. So first of all, just to wake up a little bit, we are going to make a poll. So the question of the poll is, what is your perception of InSAR satellite radar interferometry for disaster risk management. So I'm going to stop sharing. Maybe Maria, yeah. So the poll is already there. Maybe you can all see the results in the chat at the right of your screens. And well, good news, we have a high percent that thinks that InSAR is very useful. Let's hope that this perception increases at the end of the morning. Okay, so maybe we can switch off the poll and let's go with the first presentation. Let me share my screen again. So the first presentation will be given by Camilla Medici, who's a postdoctoral research fellow at the Earth Science Department of the University of Florence, where she collaborates as a part of the Competence Center of the Italian Civil Protection. And she's going to tell us about InSAR-based operational procedure in the Tuscany region in Italy. So Camilla, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, please let me know if you can see my presentation at full screen.
Yes, Camila.
Thank you. So thank you for the presentation. And as just said, I'm going to show you how we at the Earth Sciences Department of the University of Florence, how we use the InSAR data at the operational level over the Tuscany region. So we are an Italian civil protection center and UNESCO chair for prevention and sustainable management of geohydrological hazards. Indeed, we deal with all the different phases of the management cycle of a natural disaster. So starting from the response phase, so the emergency phase during the event, and then we also deal with the after event phases, so the recovery, that means the post-event reconstruction and mitigation phase. And then we also handle the preparedness, so the prevention and preparation for a new natural disaster. So in our activities, Sentinel-1 data have been an important turning point, marking the transition from static historical satellite data analysis due to the long revisiting time of the past of the previous satellites to a dynamic continuous monitoring system thanks to the reduced revisiting time of the Sentinel-1 satellites. So the operational uses of the InSAR data, and in our specific case of the Sentinel-1 data, can be summarized in two main categories. So on one hand, the PS mapping, and on the other hand, the PS monitoring. So PS mapping is a static product. So it's characterized by an annual update, and it consists of the processing of the historical archive of Sentinel-1 data, providing the deformation maps. So starting from these products, we apply velocity filtering and spatial clustering to identify areas with higher deformation rates and element at risk. So it's a very useful tool for territorial planning and land management. If we move to the PS monitoring, it's a different product because it's a dynamic product. So it's, we can say, a near real-time service. Indeed, it starts from the processing of Sentinel-1 images every 2 acquisitions. And through the analysis of the displacement time series, it allows the identification of the anomalies of movement. And in this case, the final output of the service is a municipality classification based on the anomalies of movement, and a monitoring bulletin is periodically released. So if we focus on the first operational uses, so on the PS mapping, this is a wide area scanning to spot active deformation areas. So we start from the deformation maps consisting of millions of points, and we apply a GIS tool named MEC clustering, meaning moving area clustering. Indeed, it is a special clustering of points with high velocity. And this tool allows us to significantly reduce the number of the points to a few thousand points. And moreover, this tool allows us also to identify high moving areas, so clusters of points with high velocity. But these clusters have to be classified because the movement can be related to different causes, to different phenomena. For example, slope instability or subsidence, uplift, geothermal activity, mining activity, and therefore an automatic classification and interpretation of this cluster is performed based on interferometric data and also on the ancillary information. And then at this point, qualitative risk assessment, so a preliminary risk assessment, is carried out through the intersection of these clusters with the elements at risk. And so, as said before, the output of the PS mapping is a municipality classification with a color scale ranging from green for dead municipalities without any elements at risk within the active areas, to red. So red municipalities means areas with several elements moving areas with several elements at risk. So it could be a very useful product for land management and risk assessment. Now let's move to the PS monitoring. And in this context, Tuscany region was the first one worldwide to develop in 2016 a continuous regional scale monitoring service, which is based on Sentinel-1 data. So the screening of the displacement time series allows the automatic identification of the so-called anomalies of movements. So what are these anomalies of movements? These are points with trend changes in the displacement time series, and specifically these points are characterized by a velocity variation greater than 10 millimeters per year in a time interval of 150 days. So this service focuses on this particular kind of points because they are crucial to identify critical areas needing further investigations. So here there is a workflow of the service of the PS monitoring, so all the different phases, starting from the Sentinel-1 data, anomalies of movement are identified, but even in this case, these trend changes can be related to different causes, and so even here classification has to be carried out. Thanks to the intersection with the inventories, the thematic layers, so with all, thanks to all the data, the available data. And then there is the final output of the PS monitoring, which is a monthly bulletin in which each municipality is classified based on presence-absence of anomalies. So also in this case, we use a color scale from green to red. And of course, the red class is the most important one because give us information on the presence in that municipality of persistent and relevant anomalies. So what does it mean when I talk about persistent and relevant anomalies? So persistent in terms of space and time are anomaly recurring in the same areas or surroundings across subsequent Sentinel-1 acquisitions, and therefore are more reliable anomalies. And important, of course, significant. And on the other hand, when I speak about relevant anomalies, they are relevant and significant because they intersect elements at risk. So, within this PS monitoring service, of course, we have to follow well-defined and standardized operative procedures to be effective. And so these procedures can be split in two, ordinary ones and urgent ones. So the ordinary procedures is activated when persistent and relevant anomalies are identified. So when within the bulletin, a municipality is classified in red. So what does it mean? It means field survey. And specifically, the field survey has to be carried out within 10 days by the University of Florence, so our group joined with the region and the municipality. And on the other hand, if okay, there are persistent and relevant anomalies, but not only the anomalies are intense, are labeled as intense, which means that the velocity variation is greater than 150 millimeter per year. An immediate report has to be sent to the regional authorities, and in this case, the field survey has to be carried out within 72 hours. Of course, the field survey is very important for the validation of our data and also for an overall understanding of the phenomenon, so to identify the evidences and the cause, so to confirm our idea. And at the end of the field survey, a report and a field survey scheme are compiled within risk assessment and suggested actions, and these documentations are delivered to the involved municipalities. And now, at this point, the responsibility is of the municipality. Indeed, the municipality is committed to take actions and to follow the suggestions within the report and the survey scheme. And on the other hand, if we are in a urgent procedure, the municipality has also to adopt immediate countermeasurements and, if necessary, interdiction. So here I show you an operational example regarding the Montemurlo municipality, which is a well-known case study for its subsidence issues. But since 2017, this area recorded an abrupt acceleration thanks to the PS monitoring service ongoing in the Tuscany region. Indeed, within the monitoring bulletin, the Montemurlo municipality was classified in red, which means field survey because of the presence of persistent and relevant anomalies. So the first things to do was the detailed analysis of the Sentinel-1 data. And this analysis, and specifically we also analyzed the vertical displacement, so the components of the displacement, show us a mainly vertical movement, so that's coherent with the subsidence phenomenon. And then we also analyzed the time series of vertical displacement, which highlight a particular seasonal behavior. So all this analysis of the Sentinel-1 data and the anomalies allows us to identify that area needing further investigations, so critical areas. Indeed, we have carried out several different analyses, including the building damage assessment, water pumping rates, settlement gauge, topographic leveling. We have also installed a corner reflector, and we have also performed and used a hydrogeological model. So the integration of all these monitoring data allows the characterization of the phenomenon, which is a subsidence induced by the overexploitation of groundwater. So the final output of all these the procedure is the set of the mitigation measurements that in this case are represented by the limitation of pumping rates.
Camilla, sorry, you have 2 minutes left. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes, I'm concluding. So we have talked about InSAR data and their crucial role for mapping and monitoring ground deformations. So on one hand, we have talked about mapping, so the detection of active deformation areas through the special clustering of high velocity points, and this product could be useful support for ground movement risk assessment. And on the other hand, we have talked about monitoring service, so a dynamic product, a continuous service. And this product allows us to automatically identify anomalies of movements, and the output is a bulletin very useful and very important to inform the authorities in charge. So concluding, the InSAR data with their coverage and their high precision, integrated of course with the in situ investigations, are for the validation and mitigation, are a key tool for preventing, managing and mitigating geohazards. And indeed, they enable reliable, timely and large-scale mapping and monitoring, which are essential to support decision-making and to prioritize intervention in high-risk areas. So that's all from us, and thank you for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Camilla, for your presentation. I think that you show a great example of how to translate difficult InSAR data to interpret into useful maps. So I think there is one question in the chat. Please, could you mute your microphones? Thanks. I think there is one question in the chat. So how the numbers are set for anomalies? Check, for example, in urgent case, DV more than 150 millimeters per year.
Yes, all the numbers, all the different thresholds have been set after a tuning period, so after iterative test, with the aim to reduce the false positive and false negative. So after a very long test period, yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot. So if there are no more questions, I think we can move to the next presentation. And anyway, if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat for Camilla, and maybe she can answer at the end of this session. So I'm going to present the second talk, which is given by Patrick Thuegaz. I'm not sure if I pronounce it correctly. He's an engineering at the Autonoma Valle region since 2007, and he specializes in landslide monitoring and hazard mitigation. He's co-author of national guidelines for landslide monitoring and scientific papers, and he's going to give us another great example of InSAR-based procedure in the Valle d'Aosta region in Italy. So, Patrick, the floor is yours. If you want to share your...
And I will share the screen. Would you please confirm that you can see it?
Yes, we can see full screen.
Thank you so much. So I will present the the work that we made in the Aosta Valley region. And first of all, I will describe why this very little region is inserted in this great European project. We start from a focus on the entire Europe, and we use the land size sensitivity map of Europe, where there is a particular region that is very the red color, and we are here in the northwest corner of Italy. This little rectangle is the smallest Italian region, but we have over 6,000 recorded landslides in our catalogs and 350 just in the month of April 2025. Our region has 40 of 82 alpine peaks over 4,000 meters in elevation of the Alps. And if you do another zoom on our territory, you can see that we have a lot of hazard due to the mountainous condition. And we have 6 landslides under continuous monitoring since now. That means that we are an activation of a civil protection plan, and the first installation of a monitoring system in 1997. And thanks to the collaboration that we see after with the University of Florence, we are an integrated system thanks to the PS technique. What we do is this one, geological site inspection, topographic survey also for the mitigation risk intervention and design. We monitor it a lot of 6 large landslides, as we call the first level. We use also high resolution satellite optical image, that is for us very, very important during the last 2 big events that we had this years and last years in 2024. We developed new method and technique also for monitor. We have the regional seismic network, and of course, we use the satellite InSAR sensor for following the acceleration, the anomalies, as Camilla said before. We are active part of the civil protection system organization in Aosta Valley for what concerns the forecasting, the prevention, the emergency relief, also for support the civil protection, the municipality. For example, in the event of April 2025, we are nowadays a great work to support some landslide for the municipality. And of course, we follow the situation after the days of emergency. Just few data, as I said before, in 1 month, in 3 days, we have over 350 landslide occurs in our region. We are sit in a table of civil protection, so we are the scientific part of the support function for the civil protection in the Italian way, in Italian organization, and in the regional one. In 2018, after over 1 year of thinking of what we do, we signed an agreement between our region and the Center of Civil Protection Center of the University of Florence. So Camilla said that the Tuscany was the first region worldwide using a continuous satellite monitoring. Aosta Valley was the second one after the experience with the University of Florence. So something that we insert in this presentation, of course, started from the collaboration with Florence, but in a certain point, we choose a different procedure to better adapt the general procedure to our region. So the PS monitoring is the same. It is the same procedure that the Tuscany region. We detect the anomaly. For answer the question before, what is the delta for the increase of the anomaly in urgent case. In our region, we choose to use a difference of velocity of 10 millimeters per year after some month of test of integration. It's not a lot, but with the procedure that we'll see in a while, for us it's better to have a lot some anomalies, some more anomalies that we could manage in another way. On the right, you can see the first simple flow chart starting from the analysis of the anomalies. So if there is no acceleration, of course, we will move on a continuous monitoring every 6 or 12 days. If there is an acceleration, is a part where we have to investigate why this is an acceleration, maybe a false positive due to the algorithm, due to the condition of the land, due to the snow cover. But it's not there is a real positive data. We go on the further investigation, and the streets will divide in 2 parts. Level 2, we continue monitoring. Level 3, it's a monitoring with some instrumentation, standard geological model, and another procedure. What we will see now is a paper. You will see that there is some name of the University of Florence, Bianchini, Lorenzo Solari, and so on, because it's the first time that we write a procedure based on 3 levels of use in our situation. The first one, as we see, as we call it, is a screening on the regional, on the entire territory of the Aosta Valley. So we speak about a near real-time monitoring. Of course, it's not a real-time because we have the time of the elaboration of the algorithm for the data of Sentinel-1. It's a sort of mapping. So every 12 days, we have a new mapping of the entire region, and we have also a calculation of the money of the anomalies. And so this is a part of the PS monitoring. The second level is more at a local scale, maybe identify with the anomaly of the first level, but maybe occur after, for example, an event, an hydrogeological event. Maybe there is the need to better known site. The first level, the third level, so it's local, but it's a real-time monitoring. So we have to install instrumentations such as GPS, GNSS, kilometer column, robotic sort station, and there is an application of a civil protection plan and the alert inside the civil protection center. In the first case, so the level 1, they may be the prevention maybe made by the land management. The second level, maybe the sites are more or less small, and the prevention, we could imagine some remediation works. And the last one, there is in some cases no prevention, and so just the early warning. The use of the InSAR technique, the PS InSAR technique, for us is very useful because this is the shape of our region before the use of the PS, and so we have the sites that are already known. But when we insert the PS and the anomalies, okay, we are the entire region, and maybe there is a new site that were not known because they are in a higher level mountain, because are not a lot of information of what is occurred in the recent time. So the first level is the regional InSAR cover. The second level, we have 10 sites under an attention level, and the last one, we have 6 critical sites. In this day, we manage also the glacier. So we have 6 landslide critical sites and 1 critical glacier that is not, of course, monitored with InSAR. So when there is the anomaly detection, we have 4 different cases. The first one is the anomaly detection. Okay, we have seen before. This is an algorithm that made the calculation of the data with the difference of trend of 10 millimeters per year. The second validation is where we have the difference between with the procedure of the Tuscany, because we insert all these ancillary data, if you want, so the geological maps, the inventory of landslide, national and regional. There is the study of susceptibility to rockfall on regional roads with a lot of information. And we use other satellites, Sentinel-2, PlanetScope, SkySat, even ground images such as webcams, because we have a lot of webcams on our territory. Step 5 is very important because there is the verification of the presence of targets. So to start from hazard to pass to the risk. This is the same flow chart of the slide before, and in our case there is an effect that is very high, very important, that is the winter and the snow, because our region has the highest mountain, over 4,000 meters, but has also an altitude that is over 2,000 meters, over a lot of presence of the territory. So we use a new procedure that we called Artemis. It was before the mission of the NASA to the moon, and it's called Advanced Regional Terrain Motion Information System. So this is an example of the anomalies before the application of this procedure, and this is the clearly effect that we have during the winter season. So the signal of the sensor of the satellite may affect by an error, and we decided not to to show this error to understand the evolution. But of course, during the winter may be a great problem. After the application of the algorithm, the anomalies are very in a number very little, and we can manage in a different way. This algorithm was nowadays was automatic side in QGIS. Perhaps we will be software in the few months. And when there is a confirmation of an anomaly, we could treat this situation in 3 ways. Low risk, so there is no interest. In medium risk, so we had to do some investigation on the ground in 15 days, or we have a lot of other information that we give up from the municipality, for instance. But if there is a high risk, we had to go, our technician had to go on the ground, or geologist. Maybe in some case, the high risk may transform these anomalies in something that is inserted into monitoring system with civil protection plan. All these information, all these anomalies, all the result for the Artemis algorithm is recorded and extracted in the evaluation process in a dedicated, it's a regional web app that we will develop for the documentation. It's possible that we could emit a bulletin for the municipality. Nowadays, we have no never do this kind of bulletins. And here you can see an example of our procedure, of our web app.
Sorry, Patrick, to interrupt. 2 minutes left.
So I go. Just one case. This is the first case that we use to install some instrumentation after the detection of the PSI InSAR technique. It's an armored circular laser, and it's very important because for us, because it was a useful case where, thanks to the collaboration with Florence, we have a map, we have a confirmation about the data coming from the satellite. So these are the calculation of the velocity during the loss and the measure that we made on site. That's all. This is the Mont Blanc massive diaspora in our region in Italy, in Europe, of course.
Thank you, Patrick. Very nice picture. And I think you've shown another great example of how to integrate InSAR into risk management, into operational risk management, and also how InSAR is a complementary tool with other monitoring techniques. No, so really, really great examples here. I don't know if there are any questions. I know you cannot raise your hand, so you can write in the chat, or maybe just open your microphone directly. Okay, so we can move to the next presentation. Thanks a lot, Patrick, again.
Thank you.
And let me share my screen. So now we go with Oriol. You've already met him in the previous session. He was the moderator. And now we move from Italy case studies to a case study in Spain. And Oriol is going to talk about RiskCoast emergency simulacrum in Mallorca. So, Oriol, the floor is yours.
Yes, let me share the screen. I have changed the office during the coffee break, so now I think it's this one. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we cannot see it in full screen. Okay. Yeah, okay, now it's right. Thank you.
Yes, well, I have prepared a half presentation on site, and then I will show a video. We have seen very, very nice examples of how InSAR can contribute to the land management at the end, preparing for emergencies, etc., etc. And we have seen also that there is a good bridge in these two examples of between really advanced experts on InSAR techniques and civil protections, which is, in my opinion, the way to make it works better. In this case, I am going to share with you the experience we got in a project. We did 2 simulacrum exercises simulating an emergency related to extreme climate event. And it was a tabletop exercise, and I will share you the exercise in one of the sites, and then I will discuss with you some of the conclusions we got from the exercise. So just to contextualize, it does not work. Yes. Just to contextualize a little bit, the context of these 2 exercises was the RiskCoast project. That was a project really focused on coastal zones where there is a need nowadays of a systematic risk assessment to support, let's say, a sustainable development. These areas are increasing a lot in terms of social pressure, and also we have a lot of tourism, especially on the Mediterranean area. So at the end, we are growing the exposure and vulnerability, and at the same time, there is, as Lorenzo said at the start, an increase of threats related to climate change impacts. We have the sea level rise, we have the extreme weather meteorological events. We have seen this year a very critical example on the Valencia area, and we also have effects of the erosion. Then, in this case, RiskCoast project was developed just to try to develop and tailor tools and procedures to support the management of geohazards in coastal areas, And one of the goals was to try to put these techniques not only on the prevention side or on the preparedness side, but also trying to get support or bring support during the emergency. And this was the goal of the two exercises we did during the project. One was in the Balearic Islands, and this is the one I'm going to show the video. And then another one was done on the Atlantic coast, which is slightly different from the Mediterranean coast in the south of France, in Bidart. Regarding the goals of the coast project, in this case, on the deployment of these exercises, our idea was to test the tools we were at the end. When I say tools, I talk about maps, the different maps we developed we prepared during the RiskCoast project. And the idea was to anticipate and mitigate potential cascade effects in coastal areas caused by extreme weather events. So among the different things we tested means we used during the emergency management. We have some of them that are shared with the RASTOOL, like for instance, some susceptibility maps. We have also the active areas maps, similar to those shown by Camilla, and also we analyzed time series on very particular sites. The idea was to demonstrate that knowing a better knowledge of the territory helps a lot during the emergency management. So here I show you some of the maps we use it on the exercises, and I think now we move to the video where you will see all the exercise. The video is multi-language, so it was on a rule from the framework of the project RiskCoast, the Interreg program, but there is subtitles in English. Okay, good. So it should work now. Let me do. Yes, I have to sharing also the sound. Yeah.
Okay, we can see your screen.
April 2022 in the Balearic.
And we can also hear. Yeah, it's working. We can hear and see. Thanks.
It's 7 minutes. No, I think I am on time.
El proyecto RiskCoast es un proyecto europeo enmarcado en el programa Interreg-SUDOE, financiado por fondos FEDER, que trata de trabajar en la línea de la mejora de la gestión de los riesgos geológicos en las diferentes fases de lo que es la gestión de riesgo, en la prevención, en la emergencia y en digamos, la recuperación, ¿no? la última fase. Y los objetivos del proyecto son varios. Por un lado, lo que hemos intentado es primero entender bien a nivel de lo que es la zona sudoeste Europa, Francia, Portugal y España, cuáles son los principales riesgos geológicos que afectan a las costas y cómo estos se han ido acentuando un poco en los últimos años debido a la aceleración del cambio climático un poco.
As part of the RiskCoast project, a crisis exercise was held on the 28th of April 2022 in the Balearic Islands. Following heavy rains, rock blocks have cut the road. Crisis actors must take the necessary measures to manage the situations.
Muy importante organizar simulacros porque te aporta conocimiento y seguridad en la toma de decisiones en un caso real. Aparte de conocer a todos los organismos que participan en los simulacros, aplicas los protocolos establecidos y ves dónde puedes mejorar. Es mejor fallar en un simulacro que fallar en una situación real.
Oui, on aurait besoin d'assistance, s'il vous plaît. Elle s'est cassé le genou. Je sais pas où on est.
Alors, j'en vois au moins deux. La première est relative, on va dire, à l'aléa. On n'a pas l'habitude d'organiser des exercices sur l'aléa risque rocheux. Mais ce n'est pas la plus importante. Celle qui me semble la plus importante, c'est que en termes d'organisation, cet exercice dans RiskCoast, c'est à l'initiative des chercheurs, des scientifiques, alors que traditionnellement, ce sont plutôt les acteurs de l'urgence qui ont besoin de réaliser ces exercices pour tester leur planification de gestion de crise. Là, ce sont les chercheurs qui ont voulu valider finalement les nouveaux outils qu'ils produisent par les acteurs de l'urgence pour vérifier que ces outils produits étaient bien en adéquation avec l'utilisation que les gestionnaires de l'urgence pouvaient en faire.
Bueno, pues en el simulacro vamos a utilizar una serie de herramientas que se van a plasmar en mapas y esas herramientas se basan sobre todo en dos técnicas diferentes. Una es la interferometría radar satélite, que lo que permite es cuantificar los movimientos del terreno en la isla de Mallorca, que puede estar relacionado con deslizamientos o con subsidencia del terreno, y es una técnica que se fundamenta en una serie de imágenes radar que captan los satélites y que nos permiten calcular esos movimientos. Y luego otra serie de mapas los vamos a preparar con lo que se llama modelización de desprendimientos rocosos. Estos mapas van a ser muy útiles porque van a permitir a los servicios de emergencia determinar cuáles son los puntos y las zonas más peligrosas. Bueno, pues como científica realmente lo que yo espero de este ejercicio es que el trabajo científico que hacemos sirva para algo. Es decir, que todo nuestro trabajo no se quede en artículos científicos que solo lee la comunidad científica, sino que realmente generemos y creemos herramientas que sean útiles para los servicios de emergencia, mapas que les sean útiles a ellos y que puedan utilizar en el momento que tengan que gestionar de verdad una emergencia.
Donc à la fin de l'exercice de crise, on réunit tous les participants à l'exercice, les acteurs, et puis aussi des observateurs, des personnes qui ont été chargées de suivre l'exercice, de voir comment ça se passe. Et on fait une réunion à chaud pendant laquelle on tire quels sont les éléments positifs, qu'est-ce qu'il faut retenir de positif, quels sont les points qu'il faut améliorer. On met tout ça en commun. Un peu plus tard, on demande à tous ces participants de nous envoyer un retour écrit sur ce qu'ils retiennent de positif ou de négatif de l'exercice, quels sont les bons enseignements. Et tous ces éléments-là, ils vont à la fois servir pour améliorer le dispositif de gestion de crise, donc améliorer les plans, mieux organiser les participants. Et ils vont également servir à améliorer les outils qu'on a développés dans le cadre du projet RiskCoast pour les rendre plus pertinents, plus opérationnels, plus accessibles, plus utilisables par les utilisateurs, par les acteurs de la gestion de crise.
Pues gracias a RiskCoast hemos podido tener más herramientas para poder responder de forma técnicamente más reconocible y en el caso, por ejemplo, del simulacro de Sacalobra, de la caída de bloques, nos ha ayudado a detectar a qué zona del territorio deberíamos mover a la gente para evitar otro posible deslizamiento, o sea, disminuir el riesgo de que otro deslizamiento de roca pudiera afectar a la población que estaba encerrada abajo de todo de la calobra.
Bueno, pues para nosotros la utilidad de este tipo de ejercicios es como un baño de realidad, ¿no? Es todo lo que hemos hecho, lo ponemos en un contexto de simulación de un caso real y ahí es donde realmente de cómo podemos mejorar, de qué cosas necesitamos cambiar para ser más útiles.
Okay. Do you see my screen? So
yes.
Well, this is the summary of the exercise. Then it was a second exercise, similar but in another context and in another area and with different civil protections. But basically, as you saw in the video, we had clear goals. Basically, is to transform what we create on our offices, doing research, using these satellites, convert it on something that is really useful for management, prevention, preparedness, and also during the emergency. And then after we did I would say an assessment on site for each one of the exercise. There was a discussion, as you have seen, with a blackboard where pros and cons were written. And then there was also a second type of assessment, which was more general, not only for the participants, but asking about the exercises to a more general public. The key conclusions at the end were very, very interesting. The first thing is that in the tabletop, in both exercises, we get the first responders plus a scientific committee that makes the role of giving sense to all our maps. And this was really, really important, because if not, the maps are just paper in some cases, because not all the people is able to interpret the data how it is presented. So one of the conclusions was that the need of the expert involvement during these exercises or these emergency scenarios. The other thing that was discussed is how to integrate these products on the I would say emergency plans or protocols. This is also still open in some cases. We have seen some examples on the prevention shown by Camilla and by Patrick, but in the emergency, it is rather difficult, and it's rather difficult also to make it, let's say, homogenize it for all the different civil protection mechanisms that are regional, local, national, etc., etc. But basically, the feedback, the general feedback was really nice, and the idea in RASTOOL-2 is to put some of these products to the service of people, not only for prevention, but also that can be activated for an emergency. That's all from my side. I think I am on time. But,
yes,
yeah.
you are. 40 minutes and 45 seconds, so perfect.
Okay, that's perfect.
Thanks a lot, Oriol. So yeah, we've seen the importance of simulacrums, no, and to know each other, the intervenients, and know their needs. So we have a question from Alejandra. She's from Civil Protection. Hi, Alejandra, from Aragon in Spain. And she says that it's a good idea to promote these types of exercises. And so her question was in the line of how to integrate these products to local civil protection services. That was one question. And the other one is where did the data and tools such as rockfall susceptibility maps, where did you get that data from? Are they from civil services or from scientific, from the scientific part?
Yeah, the maps were generated during the project. We did a lot of campaigns. So the idea is this is not a new product, this susceptibility maps, etc., but the idea was to emphasize the usefulness of having all this information. So in the particular case of Balearic Islands, they were generated by IGME, by your institution, and the same could be done in other sites. The idea is that they are useful at the end for managing this. And the second question was,
yes, how to integrate these products to local civil protection services.
Yeah, this is a good question. But I would say that one thing that we have found is that sometimes the mechanisms are completely or rather different, I would say, and the needs of each one is different. So I would say that I have no answer to this. I have ideas on different sites, but one of the goals of RASTOOL is to get a clear answer to this.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Alejandra.
Okay, thanks. Thank you very much for your introduction and so on. My question is a way of including or offering or showing to the civil protection services all these products is through workshops. That's what we are making or doing here in Zaragoza or trying to do. And the question is, a show of this, like something like what you have done in Mallorca, but playing, because I suppose that costs a lot of money. So would it be possible for the organization to prepare, for example, a map of Earth movements in Zaragoza about sinking holes, to present that inside a workshop with all the people as a students, with all the people coming from emergency action groups? Would it be possible? Something like this?
Yes, we can talk about as a first idea is that we for sure can use the European Ground Motion Service as a background for this, so to prepare this kind of maps, but exploiting the European Ground Motion Service. And I think it is possible. We can find the framework. It's a question of if you want, we can write. And then we can see how we can organize. Alejandra.
I can put you in contact so you can talk about this further.
That would be great. We can do it through Guadalupe and some other friends from the IGME, and something else in the civil protection service here in Aragon. There are some departments who are trying to do some kind of works connected with landslides maps made from the office. I mean, not field, not calibration, right? And it costs money, but it's something made by just a single department. There are many things in common between your work and their work. And the only way I can guess, we could put it together and show ones to the others and so on, is these workshops we are making.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we agree. So regarding this kind of simulation in Zaragoza, we can talk about and try to find the context. Regarding the workshops, I think we are going. I don't know. Anna is the boss here, but I think there are more workshops in RASTOOL, if I am not wrong.
Yes, we will have a final training at the end of the project, and and also other example of simulation will be presented. But yes, we can talk to also to see in Aragon if we can make a specific work together to apply our tools and to visualize and explain how to use the outputs.
Thank you.
Great. So this is one of the objectives of the workshop. So this is great. So we are a little bit out of time. So we have one hand raised of Lydia. So Lydia, if you want to open your microphone. Lydia? I'm afraid we cannot hear you. So maybe you can put your question in the chat, or maybe at the end of the session we can discuss. So thanks a lot. I think this discussion was very interesting. So we are going to pass to the last part of the morning. And well, I think Let me just share. So in this next session, Anna and Marta, well, they will moderate their session, and they will also present the RASTOOL-DoS specific characteristics. So thanks a lot, and stop sharing, and the floor is yours, Anna.
Thank you, Guada. I will share the screen. So, sorry. This. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can. It's not full screen. Okay,
now yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay, so we are the last session, and the idea here is to summarize a little bit and to visualize what the idea that we have now. We are at the beginning of the project, so for us it's very important to let you know and to transmit you that we need your input, your feedback, and your ideas also to define which kind of output we should generate. So let's resume a little bit with keywords that we have been hearing during the morning. So satellite interferometry, but also here is written prevention and preparedness, but I will say in the whole disaster management cycle. So we have keywords like detection, monitoring, multi-scale, because we have seen how we can start with territorial units alerts to go then up to a very local actuation and intervention. So we have seen how this can help the risk assessment to know the territory, so to know the situation before the potential disaster occur. And we can use this information to support the planning of emergency response and also the land use planning. Also for the management on the infrastructures, and we can this is allow us to make alert and also early warning if we use a continuous monitoring and if we detect change in the temporal behavior of the movement. And so in general, we can see how changing the scale of application, then we can guide findings to go in deeper analysis and propose interventions, and to step to other, for example, monitoring methodologies, on-site surveys or on-site techniques to better understand the phenomena. So in RASTOOL, what in RASTOOL-DoS, what can we do? We have seen that we start from a displacement map. Okay, and the objective of the project that have been presented by Oriol, the idea is to make products that need to be very useful for the territorial management. So what can we do in RASTOOL-DoS? We can identify, and based on the RASTOOL tools, we can identify and monitoring where a ground is moving. Then we can characterize the movement also in time, and then we can transform this information to a product that must support the risk management. So we have seen the previous presentation, so what I'm talking about. So I will go fast in the first part of the presentation. Here we see a displacement map, and here in an example of identify, characterize, monitoring, and transform. We start with the identification and characterization, and I introduce here the concept of the active deformation areas, which is the same concept of moving area clustering that has been presented by Camilla, or cluster of movements. And well, we have seen this kind of products in the previous presentation. So we pass from many measurement points to polygons, few polygons, and each of these polygons can summarize different information. In this case, we see, for example, the temporal series of displacement, the mean velocity, and so on. So to see more in detail, we pass from point to polygons, and this allows easier management of this information. These polygons can be classified based on which kind of movement. Ground movement typology, and also based on temporal anomaly. So if we have an acceleration in time of the ground motion, as we have seen before, and also another let's say word that we have here during the morning is the impact and the exposure. So we want to know if our active deformation area is affecting exposed elements like population, bridge, structures, infrastructure, building, and so on. In this case, we see we have some private houses, schools, and so on. The exposed and road, but the exposed element can be very different typology. For example, gas stations or power lines, and so on. So we can also classify these active deformation areas based on both the exposure or the impact, which is a concept which mixes the process magnitude and exposure. So we can have a simple classification of the active deformation area. So those are all the information that we can that we have resumed in the active deformation area polygons. But what we want to do now is we want to prototype an on-demand service to generate maps based on this information on satellite interferometry for civil protection and territorial authorities to support disaster risk management and territorial management. But the idea here is that we need to know from all the involved authorities if our map, if the produced map are useful for you, if they can be easily used by non-technical users. So Oriol previously, he was saying that it was needed the expert involvement, and we would like to produce maps that can also be understood by non-expert, non-technical users. They need to be operational map, and we want to know which information is more significant to be included of this kind of map. So we have seen the Copernicus Emergency Management Service on-demand mapping, the part of on-demand mapping, when they produce the output of this service are both the layers for being used in a geographical information system, but also there are ready-to-print maps, which have a standardized configuration. We have the main map and some elements on the right, like the legend and additional information. But I would like to see an example, which is the same example that we have seen before. So this for the ground deformation of sinkholes. And here you have the reference if you want to go more in detail. In this case, they are we see information derived from satellite interferometry. We see time series of displacement. We see gridded areas classified based on the risk. Here we have the legend, and we see all the information that is stored in this case within one map. So if we go in a detail here, what is my question here is like, for sure, all of this information is very useful, but the question is it easy to be used, interpreted, and can anyone understand this information? Of course, we need a technical overview to analyze all of this information. We need to understand what is ascending, descending. We need to know why one series of displacement is going up, is going down. So one thing is the information, the importance of the information, which of course is really valuable. On the other side, we have how do we deliver this information? And it's here that we want to go in a direction where any user can directly and easily read our outputs. So here, just to see some example of what we can generate. Okay, of course, here we have displacement map. This is a poor result of satellite interferometry, and in our opinion, for the experience in previous projects, this information is not exactly what we would call operational. Is not exactly easy. We need expertise and time to go and analyze this kind of map. So the first typology of map, simplified map and clear map that we could deliver is the active deformation areas map. Okay, this is just one information map with the velocity a velocity classification in terms of millimeters per year, but also we can have the information of the typology of movement. Okay, here we see we have mainly landslides, settlement, and subsidence. And so this is another information, just unique information in one map. But then we can add layers why the ground motion phenomena can be also important to know in order to make an analysis of possible interconnected risks and also potential cascade effects. For example, it's interesting to know if there is a subsidence in a flooding area, for example, or if I have a landslide close to a water body, so close to a dam, for example, or a reservoir. Also, this kind of map is, well, it's again in the simulacrum example, we have seen how this kind of map we can know which roads are more or less safe in case of an emergency, where it's more probable to have a landslide collapse and that can interrupt the communications on the roads. Another information that we can provide, and we have hear about it, and is the potential impact of these active deformation areas. So here we use both the magnitude of the movement and the exposed elements under the active deformation areas. So here, for example, we see urbanized areas and linear infrastructures, but we can also use other typology of information. It's important here, we have seen how the input, well, the user that requests the mapping service also provides local data and local necessities. So it's important here that depending on the inputs of the user, we can have this different kind of outputs. So another example is if we add even more information. Here, for example, we see the active deformation areas, which are classified in low, medium, or high velocity, but also we can fast visualize some areas where we can see the impact within these particularly interesting areas. And also we can add an alert in case in one of these areas we have acceleration. So for example, in this case, we will have acceleration in an area where the impact is high and the velocity is also high. So these are just proposals at the very beginning of the project. And then we will see other typology. In this moment, I would ask you just to, I know this is a very well, light assessment of your interest, but I would ask Maria to launch the poll 8 in order to make a ranking on this kind of information that we can we will provide. So you can just move and order what you think will be most interesting for you in the first position, the second position, third position, like looking at this example. So we see, I cannot move this. Impact and phenomena typology are like in the first two positions. So again, as we have seen before, from we can go toward different other typology or other units, or let's say other focus of this map. So we can pass from the ADA to the territorial or administrative units. I don't know, I will not go into detail because Camilla have showed this perfectly, this typology of map. And this also here we can classify based on the potential impact, so on the intersection of the active deformation area with exposed elements, but also with temporal anomaly and so on. So this is another product map that can be generated. And then another step is going from the active deformation areas to the exposed elements. Here an example, we visualize from the exposed road only where is the movement, where is located the movement. So the segments of the roads that are exposed to the ground movements. Or if we go, for example, in a subsidence area, we can pass to the tail of the buildings. And in this way, we can have a clear classification on which building is expected to be more damaged by the movement. In this case, we derive this information based on both the velocity, but mainly from the differential movements, because we expect higher damages where the movement is not homogeneous. And then we can also add other information to make different kind of classification of the buildings, like, for example, the economic loss or the intended use of the buildings and or the exposed people, and also adding other information to go toward a vulnerability, let's say, yes, assessment of each building, for example, depending on the construction material and so on. So these are all additional information examples that would be provided locally by the users, by yes, by the local authorities, depending on the objective of this kind of on-demand map. So here again, just this is maybe the final, or one of the final questions. If you, Maria, if you want to launch the 9th one again, to rank the typology of map, if that would be more significant for your work. Looks like active deformation areas is the first one, and then administrative territorial units together with exposed elements are more or less at the same level. Well, they are moving, but okay. Thank you very much. So this is the idea. We need your inputs in order to know, to select, and to know how to present all the information. And for this, now I give the floor to Marta, because we need some input from you, and Marta is going to present. Well, if you have question or suggestion or discussion, it's the time. It's the best moment to do that.
And there was a question in the chat from Alejandra, okay, asking how did you get the temporal series of the ADAS, and how long these time series are?
The information of the time series is derived from the satellite interferometry information, so it depends on the input displacement map. So it depends if we are using the EGMS as input, or if you are using other source of data from other satellites. If we are working with a dedicated generated map, let's say, okay, not only EGMS, we can derive this information from all the displacement maps derived from satellite interferometry. And so for each area, we can have the mean temporal evolution, which is used to classify and to make alert of, let me share. If we have here in the input map, each of these points includes a temporal evolution of the time series of displacement. So in this case, we use the mean temporal evolution within of the measurement points within each active deformation area. But also we can maintain the information of all the single points which are included in the moving area. I don't know if I replied to your question.
Thank you very much. No, it's a question. I mean, we are speaking about 2 years, 5 years on the mean, or we cannot speak in these terms.
The time series, okay, is it depends on the displacement map that we are using in the European Ground Motion Service, and using Sentinel-1 information, we can go back to 2015. Okay, so we can have time series from 2015 to 2024, 25. No, if we use Sentinel-1. So it depends on the images of satellite images that are used to produce the displacement map.
Oh, yes, thank you.
I hope this clarifies. Any other question?
There aren't any other questions in the chat, Anna.
Okay, thank you, Maria. So, well, maybe yes, I will, Marta, if you want to present.
Yes, sorry. I will share my screen. Okay. Can you see my presentation?
Yes,
Marta. Yes, okay. Okay, so good morning or good afternoon. So this is the last talk of the morning. It is very short, and it's just to talk about the importance of communicating and collecting feedback from you throughout the project, so we can improve the maps. And so we want to make sure that the maps and products and the service, the prototypes that we are designing are relevant and are understandable, and that they will be useful for you. So we will ask for feedback, and we will collect your feedback in meetings such as this one, and also we will send questionnaires to different groups. Okay. And so the most important message of this talk is this, that we are going to send you a questionnaire next week by mail. So you can see here the questionnaire, and this is to gather feedback on user needs and requirements regarding the maps and the products that we want to develop throughout the project. And so we will be asking questions about the examples that Anna showed in her presentation, the different attributes that we can show on the maps, on the different layers, and on the legend of the map. So the questionnaire that you're going to receive, it has 3 sections. It's very short. It will take less than 5 minutes to complete, and we need your collaboration. So in section 1, you just have, we need your information about the participant and the organization. In section 2, we will ask some question about your professional involvement in geohazard, and also your knowledge and the use that you made, maybe about using remote sensing technologies, and your knowledge of the different services that we talk about, like the European Ground Motion Service. And the last section, section 3, focused on your preferences regarding the maps. So we will ask about these different choices or your preferences on the maps that we want to produce, like the one that Anna showed. So, for example, information or attributes that should be visible in the legend or the map layers that you prefer. Or, for example, how frequently you would need these maps, no? If you need continuous monitoring or just to know the present situation. Okay. And so this is a timeline of the project, and we will organize different activities throughout the project to gather feedback from the final users. And so the next step is the questionnaire that we will be sending you next week. Then we will have dedicated meetings with the civil protection authorities associated to the pilot areas of the project. Towards the middle of the project, when we have the first version of the maps and the prototypes, we will evaluate with the help of the final users this initial version, and we will gather their feedback to improve and to adapt these products. And sorry. Okay. Also, we will have a specific questionnaires and meetings with again with the civil protections related with these pilot areas. And towards the end of the project, we will have the final assessment with the final products, the final results of the project that hopefully will be adapted to the needs of the final users. And that's all. Just we will send this questionnaire next week, and we greatly appreciate your collaboration to have your feedback, and thank you for your attention. So any questions? I don't know, Anna, if we need to if you want to launch this last poll or
Well,
if you have any question about this presentation or the previous presentation from Anna. Okay, this is a poll. Write a word, thought, or comment to close the day.
Yeah, well, I would like to thank your participation. I take that the opportunity to thank also all the organization team and all the consortium and all the speakers that have participated. It was really interesting for at least for us, and so I think we can close the morning.
Okay, so thank you, and we hope you found it interesting. So see you in the future events of the project.
Yes, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Everyone.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye,
Anna and
everyone.
Marta.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.